Indonesia gained independence on 17 August 1945, but the movement for their independence had started 3 decades earlier. On this very day, 113 years ago, from this very building.
This century-old building used to be called School tot Opleiding van Inlandse Artsen, or Stovia, which means medical school for native people. This school was built by the Dutch colonial government in 1902 as a dormitory and place to study for Indonesian youth to become doctors to beat the smallpox epidemic at the time. This campus gave birth to an organization called Budi Utomo, which was founded by the students at that time and inspired the wave of movements towards Indonesian independence. Today, this building is still well maintained as the government repurposed it as a museum of national awakening. This is Mr. Swa, an educator at this museum. Our story began hundreds of years ago. Before the 20th century, Indonesia was called as the Dutch East Indies colony. The Dutch colonialization in Indonesia was a hegemony mainly in spice trade, making the Dutch as one of the largest economic forces in the world during the 19th century. But the people of Indonesia at that time did not live in prosperity as the Dutch did. Native Indonesians suffered economically and socially. During that time, there were already resistance against the Dutch, but their struggles were still sporadic and had not managed to expel the Dutch military forces. Then at the beginning of the 20th century, there was a policy called the Dutch ethical politics, a Dutch effort to take ethical responsibility for the welfare of Indonesians. There were 3 programs in this policy, namely education, immigration, and irrigation. But it was revealed that these 3 policies were still intended for the interest of the Dutch. Education program was utilized to train cheap laborers. Immigration program was used to open new plantation. And irrigation was only for the benefits of Dutch landowners.
Enggaknya dari politik etis tadi, walaupun dimiringkan ya dalam hal pengaplikasiannya, tapi ada satu poin yaitu yang edukasi itu melahirkan orang-orang elit baru yang nggak sekedar mungkin dulu harus bangsawan, darah biru, tapi orang-orang yang punya skill, orang-orang yang punya ilmu.
However, ethical politics had given an awakening to the next group of Indonesian scholars. In turn, they shared their knowledge to many others, which kick-started the dawn of literacy. Many of these scholars were honored with the title of national heroes, such as Ki Hajar Dewantara, R.A. Kartini, and Dewi Sartika. As time goes by, there were more and more Indonesians enrolled in the Dutch education system. It all started when there was an epidemic of infectious disease in the late 19th century. The Dutch selected young Javanese to be trained as doctors. A few years later, on May 8, 1908, a group of Stovia students took the initiative to establish an educational organization for the Javanese. They named it Budi Utomo.
Dari berdirinya Budi Utomo inilah kemudian menginspirasi munculnya organisasi-organisasi lain. Ya, jadi bukan seperti paguyuban tradisional ya, tapi benar-benar organisasi yang memang mengikuti model-model organisasi dengan mungkin struktur yang lebih baku, ada ketua, ada sekretaris, bendahara dan semacamnya. Dan mungkin dengan tujuan yang sudah cukup lebih lebih matang ya.
This movement enlightened Indonesians to unite and organize in the fight for independence. After that, many organizations follows in their step, such as Muhammadiyah, which engaged in education, Nahdlatul Ulama in religion, Sarekat Islam in trade, as well as political parties such as Perhimpunan Indonesia. Finally, at the beginning of the 20th century, the movement of Indonesians was increasingly organized and united. Such movements met with the momentum of weakened Dutch power in Asia and the failure of the Japanese occupation in time of World War II. During that window of golden opportunity, Indonesia managed to declare independence on August 17th, 1945.
Dan kebangkitan nasional, walaupun itu merujuk ke satu titik dalam sejarah, ke satu tanggal, ke satu tahun, tapi kebangkitan itu nggak selesai sampai di sana kan. Masih banyak banget kebangkitan yang harus kita jaga dan bahkan kita harus bangkit lagi. Seperti dalam hal olahraga, seni, masuk juga pendidikan, dan berbagai bidang.
Indonesia has come a long way since its awakening more than 1 century ago, now become one of the strongest countries in the world in terms of workforce and economy. And it's crazy to think that all of this progress, the independence movement, was started by a group of students organizing themselves. And today, the most important awakening that Indonesia needs is to rise again from the pandemic, to become a healthy and productive country once again, and continue the progress. Al Harkan, Nico Arianto for See Today.